Okay, so let's talk about this is the second part. So we continue on with CSQ2. Now I'm going to go through the 8-mark question on page 89. Okay, so let's start. This question says with the aid of a diagram. Okay, so you got to make sure you draw. Discuss the relative significance of demand and supply factors. Okay, so you could try to find both. Contributing to the increase in oil prices. Okay, sure. That's going to, okay, so just make sure you use price of oil. Okay. I'm okay, this is 8 marks. This is quite a big mark allocation for CSQ. Okay, so I'm going to start actually, okay, I'm going to give you the sort of like a what's going to happen throughout this video, right? I'm going to do this question like a real question. So the previous 8 mark CSQ question that I did with you guys, I said that the 8 mark question is not real. This question is real. Okay, cool. I'm going to approach it like it's real. By real, what do I mean? It means that this is a higher order question. Higher order questions have command words with discuss. Okay, versus, so higher order ones will be discuss. Higher order command words are used. One example of a higher order command word is discuss. Another example is assess. Okay, to a lesser extent, some questions may use the word evaluate, although this is less common. So discuss and assess are very common higher order command words that Cambridge uses. Okay, that's one way to see it. So one way to see whether it's higher order is to look at the command word. Okay, so maybe I'll just put it higher order questions is to look at the command word. So discuss or assess would mean it's a higher order question. Another way is to see the mark allocation. So this one it takes experience. So for now, it just looks at memory work, okay? But in CSQ questions, the 8 mark question is a higher order question. The CSQ 10 mark question is a higher order question. For the essay, the 10 mark question is not a higher order question. Okay? But the 15 mark question is a higher order question. Okay, so higher order questions, higher order questions are largely 3. One is the 8 mark CSQ, the other one is the 10 mark CSQ. If you're doing an essay question, the 15 mark one is the higher order question. Okay, that possesses the command word assess or discuss usually. Okay, so for this one, different questions have different mark denominations. So I'll go through the 8 mark one today. Okay, only go through the 8 mark one. So we only focus on the 8 mark one. So what's the mark allocation when it comes to the 8 mark question? It is 6 plus 2. Okay, higher order questions have this split where there's something plus something. Okay, so the 6 mark part is something called the analysis. Analysis means whether you use technical terms and whether you have answered the question lah. So whether you have technical terms, whether you have scope, and whether you have relevance. Means whether you have you speak in a very weird economic way. You have scope, either demand, you have both demand and supply, and then relevance, have you answered the question properly? Okay, so the 6 marks is called analysis. The 2 mark is called evaluation. Okay, so today this is the new thing I'm going to be introducing you to, which is evaluation, which you will realize the answering technique is very different and the scoring metric is very different. Okay, so this star is a higher order skill that I will first, this is your first exposure to it, at least from me. Okay, so we're going to start off with the planning structure first. So they ask you for demand and supply factors. So you want to do at the start, what do we would want to do? Demand and supply factors, DDSS. This is your start. Right. Demand and supply factors. So this one, I think I told you before, events like this, you find from the case material. So you should go and read the case material, see whether you got anything that affects the demand or supply of oil. Okay. Then in between, you want to make sure you link using technical terms. So I mentioned all this before already. Okay, we're just revising technical terms. Then they ask you to use a diagram. So fine, you draw a diagram. And then finally, you do the adjustment process. So you just vomit and you give the adjustment process. So we're going to move from left to right. Okay, like so. Okay, then after I do this, so this one will get you the 6, right? Then after I'll teach you how to write the 2, because I actually need to talk a little bit about what the 2 entails. Okay, but the blue color structure is something I've explained before in class. Okay, if you're okay, then let's start. If you haven't done it, my suggestion is go and find in the extract the events. Okay, because it's one thing for me to tell you the events, another thing for you to go and try and find it yourself. Okay, so if you haven't done it, my suggestion is I think the least you can do is at least go and look at the events. Okay, those are the one the exam to be the first time you ever look at the event. Anyway, okay, so let's start with the demands. So structure wise, how do we do it? We also spoke about the structure construction, right? Oops, why can't I? Okay, so we also spoke about structural construction. So one way to interpret this is I can have DD1, DD2, SS1, is that see whether you have SS2, check lah. Okay, sometimes you can't find two demands or supply or two supply, but there's definitely going to be at least one from each side, because otherwise they won't even set the question, right? So we go like this. Paragraph structure will be DD1, DD1, DD2, SS1, SS2. Then we're going to draw a diagram, and then we're going to do adjustment. Okay, so that's the way we've planned the structure, like so. Okay, so this one we've talked about it before already. Okay, so following the orange structure, we're going to start off with what's the first demand factor affecting the price of oil. Okay, so you pause in between to copy the answer. Okay, I'm not going to pause for you. Yeah. Okay, so first demand factor is strong economic growth, right? So when it's economic growth, it means that there's an increase in income. Okay, there's something I want you to take note. Okay, so right, usually when income is a factor, right, the extract rarely is so friendly to tell you, hey, look, hello, there's an increase in income. They won't tell you that, right? So they'll mask it or try and conceal it using words like this, economic growth. So it's up to you to understand that economic growth entails an increase in income. Okay, so not always the Excel will give you very directly, hey, hello, tastes and preferences. They won't tell you that. Okay, so you have to read between the lines. That one comes with experience also. So when there's strong economic growth, it means there's an increase in income, right? So if Singapore's GDP has risen by 5.9%, in general, most people are richer. Okay, in general. So when that happens, people have more purchasing power. So when they have more purchasing power, they will be able to buy normal goods. And normal goods, we mentioned before, have a YED value, income elasticity of demand, more than 0, which means that when income increases, the demand for them also increases, which results in a positive value, right? And of course, oil is a factor input used in many manufacturing processes to produce those normal goods. So therefore, the derived demand for oil increases. Okay, so a couple of things to take note. I think actually not couple, there's only one thing I want you to take note. Can you just watch the technical terms, please? So now that you've learned elasticity, definitely you can have access to more technical terms like this. Okay, so if you feel that it's useful, you can just make sure you include those technical terms. Okay, so this is the first factor. This is my DD1. Okay, apparently then there's also an increase in demand because of another factor. Let's use a different color, which is the rise in the price of a substitute. Right, so the substitute here is natural gas. So substitute means you either use one or you use the other. So if you're using more natural gas, then if your natural gas is more expensive, you substitute it with oil, right? So why is it a substitute? So you got to explain why it's a substitute, because they are needed in the same way as a factor input for power generation, right? And if you learn XED now, so you know that XED of substitutes are more than 0. Okay, satisfy the same need as a factor input. This is your explanation, right? Don't just say they are substitute, must explain. Okay. I can't even adjust it with my shortcut on my Apple Pencil. Okay, so just put must explain with a reason. Doesn't have to be a grandmother story, okay? Just something like this is fine. Like, they satisfy the same need as a factor input. So when there's an increase in the price of natural gas, like what I mentioned, people will switch away from natural gas towards crude oil, and that's why there's an increase in the demand for crude oil. Just like in the same way, if Coke raises prices, I'm going to drink Pepsi, if natural gas prices are very expensive, the power plants will switch away from natural gas towards crude oil instead. This is DD2. Okay, so you pause on your own, copy down what you need. Okay, so after DD1, DD2, the next part will be supply, right? So supply is decreasing because of natural disasters which have damaged oil infrastructure. So hurricanes in the US are destroying some of the oil fields. So this affects the ability of producers to supply crude oil at every price. So supply falls. This is SS1. Okay, so signpost, you can signpost to me that you've taken it from extract 1. Okay, so what's our story thus far? Demand 1 is that demand is increasing because of income. Demand 2 is that demand is increasing because of the price of a substitute, which is natural gas. SS1 is because of natural disasters or natural causes. Disasters that have so then the supply would have decreased. Okay, so we got two factors increasing demand and one factor decreasing supply. Okay, next up, we're going to draw the diagram and do the adjustment process. Okay, so we're going to do the adjustment process first. Okay, maybe I'm going to draw the diagram by the side. Okay, so demand is increasing, supply is decreasing. Okay, this one requires you to pre-plan a bit. Okay, so I haven't taught you the evaluation yet, but I'm going to just tell you the moral story. So the moral story or the ending I'm planning towards is that I'm going to say this one is going to shift more. So I pre-plan one, okay, then I draw. Okay, so I'm going to shift demand more. So what I'm going to do is going to draw x and y axis. Okay, put your 0 down, supply and demand, then you mark out your P and Q. Okay, I'm going to shift demand more. Okay, I'm not going to color code things anymore. Okay, so demand shift more, supply decreasing, supply shift left, like so. Okay, and the new intersection Q1 P1. So you notice here I'm shifting one way more than the other, like I mentioned before. Okay, you want to make things more dramatic so it's easier for you. Okay, so when that happens, what you get? You get a shortage. So we can, if you want, we can, it's an 8-mark question, maybe worth identifying the shortage. So you take the old price. I'm putting it in red so that you can see. Okay, in exam, please don't put it in red, just draw in the same color. Extend here, this is my QD. At the old price, how much do people buy? And at the old price, how much do people supply? Alright, so this is your shortage. Okay, so shortage would be here, QD, QS. So you have a rise in demand. Oh, sorry, I labeled wrongly. So just change, okay? I use D, not D1, but the answer key is D1, D2. It's fine, just change your labels. So increase in demand and fall in supply. So now make sure that you use your, if you're drawing a diagram, which you have, you're going to make sure you do references. Diagram references, okay? Will lead to a shortage. So shortage, we've spoken about this. This is a technical term. Okay, so make sure you use technical terms. Okay, shortage, which will lead to upward pressure on price, right? So then frustrated consumers would be willing to pay higher prices to get the good. So then price rises, QD falls here, QS rises here, until you hit the new equilibrium, which is E2. E2 is here. Okay, so then equilibrium prices rise from, so mine is P0 to P1. So again, you're doing a couple of things here, right? You're doing references, and you're trying to answer the question directly. Okay, yeah, that's for part 1 of question B.